Good morning, hello, and welcome to today's webinar. My name's Amanda Chadwick, and I am a speaker, and I am delivering this webinar today for the CIPD HR Inform. So welcome to this webinar today, talking about the importance of inductions and investing into inductions. A lot of slides here today. So the objectives today are to gain practical advice on the purpose of inductions, planning and implementing inductions, the role of the buddy, and how to build on inductions. So they are absolutely crucial, the purpose of an induction. The CIPD describes an induction as the process where employees adjust or acclimatise to their jobs and working environment. As a human being, for me, if I was starting a new job, the purpose of an induction is to make me feel welcome, I think, to welcome me into the business, to introduce me to everybody, to go through the processes, the procedures. But a good induction is essential to integrating new employees into the organisation and enabling them to perform as quickly as possible, really. If this doesn't happen or doesn't happen well, it could take far longer for individuals to feel they belong and also for them to be able to contribute and perform at their best. You could even lose an excellent member of staff if they don't feel included within the working environment. So for me, if I was starting work for you, you've confirmed my statement of main terms and what you've guaranteed me on a contract, but then welcoming me to the business on the first day of employment, we're all excited about working for our new employer. So we like to know who we're working with, we want to get on with everybody, and actually we spend an awful lot of time at work, awake, that is, I hope. We spend a lot of time at home, but quite a large proportion of that time is asleep. So we spend an awful lot of time at work. And I want to get on with every single person I work with. I want camaraderie, and a good workforce is a productive workforce, and a happy workforce is a productive workforce. So this starts on day one by getting your induction right, I think, and making people feel at home with your company. So that's really the purpose of the induction. It's also to go through your health and safety and also your policies and procedures as well. So the purpose of induction is the organisation aim, providing the new employee with a positive first experience of the organisation, their team and their new role. Like I know one particular company, when they know that somebody's about to start, what they do is they have a mug produced with the person's name on it, which I think is quite nice. They introduce them personally to every single member of the staff. And I just think it's a nice touch, that, isn't it? Like a mug with somebody's name on it, and you present it to them on the first day. Talk about making them feel, included straight away. The employee aim is seeing whether the organisation is the right fit for them, including the role itself and the people they will work with. So remember, at this point, an induction will not just be carried out for a new starter, but we might do this induction when somebody's taken on a new role within the company, had a promotion, and succession roles for your current employees as well. So it's not just for a new starter. The employee should feel that they have been provided with necessary information, welcomed into the organisation, given clarity on the employee's expectations, supported and trained to help them reach expectations. So it is really important to make new employees feel welcome, to get rid of any fears or misunderstandings, to answer any questions and explain the key things they need to know about working for your organisation. A good induction will help new employees settle in and will provide an understanding of the strategy, your aims, your values, culture, and what's important to the organisation. So remember, a large part of HR now is employee engagement, incentives and motivation, which is the part I absolutely love. You've heard me talk about that before, but it is actually relevant at this point, because when you've got a new starter, that's when you've got them to speak to introduce them to everybody and make them feel like they're part of this team and let them see the vision. So somebody's done really well with your company and they've started off and they've moved up through the levels. Let that new starter know, and they can visualize where they might be one day. If it is an effective induction, you will support the employee to see where their role fits in, what's required of them, and allow them time to get to know the people that they will work with, and how to work effectively with these people as well. I think when you've got that person there, it's the one opportunity that you will get to know that person, know their skills, their tasks, you know, what they've accomplished in their life, what job they've had before. We're going to talk about that in a moment as well. I remember one particular induction I had years ago, a few decades ago anyway, and the gentleman that was delivering the induction was a really nice fella, but he was so boring, and I literally had to stop. I think it's the only time in my life I've actually had to stop myself falling asleep when somebody's talking to me, because he was just such a nice person. But I had the whole day of an induction with him in an office, one-on-one, and I like the sound of my voice, but he certainly liked the sound of his voice, and it wasn't a magical experience, let's put it that way. What I'm trying to do here is, if you're joining my company, I want to make this a great day for you for your first day. I want you to realize the vision that we've got as a whole. I want you to feel included. I want to get the bits out with the employment law and the health and safety side of it, but I want to know what your skills are as well, because you might be taking somebody on that has a skill that they haven't really spoken about. They might have been trained in accounts, they might have a language skill, they might have a partner that has a different language and they can speak that language with them. And you never know when that might be useful later on in life in employment, when you're trying to get a new deal or trying to work with a new client, and then you remember that the person you had an induction 3 years ago has a skill that might help you with that. So I think, treat it as a way of doing health and safety, employment law, getting to know that person, but also finding out about them as well, finding out about where they've been before, what their work, what work history they've had, etc. I think it's a really good chance while you've got that person there. So what you're doing really is, as I said, you're giving them a good impression of the organisation. So the employer should feel that they have given a good impression of the organisation. You don't want somebody that's going to enter into gossip during the induction, do you? Introduce the employee to key individuals, engage the employee into their culture and aims, and show their willingness to support and develop. It's really good practice to develop a formal induction policy which covers all aspects of induction to ensure correct procedures are followed consistently across the organisation, and that the organisation is able to effectively induct new employees within the organisation. That's the whole purpose of this. So the benefit to the organisation includes the employee getting up to speed quicker, positive integration into the team, preventing the employees leaving through lack of support, which some people feel like they've just been thrown in at the deep end. So clarity or understanding how they fit in. So taking that additional time out at the beginning of an employment can help an employee stay within their employment for longer. We talk about employee engagement, feelings of engagement, support, being developed, understanding and embracing the company's values. They will all lead to a longer period of employment with a business. This lowers your turnover, improves retention, happy staff with associated benefits such as lower recruitment costs to replace new starters within a short period. I don't like going through this recruitment and then losing that person within the first few months. So this really does secure this person within that role. While most organisations have an induction on the first day, I personally feel that the induction process should consider a longer time period. Really, what we have is this smash and grab approach. Here, come on in. Here's your induction. Right, goodbye. See you again later. You've had your one-day induction. We need to work with that person a little bit longer, really, to make them feel included and plan how the organisation will work to integrate and support the employee throughout the start of their employment. And it does, an induction can be one day, but I like them to last a little bit longer, even if it's just meeting up now and then, but usually up to 3 or 6 month period. So organisations do often think of inductions in one or two ways, and it happens on the first day, introducing new employees to work colleagues and showing them to the desk or workstation, or it is a session run by the training or HR department. Well, induction for me is a lot more than this anyway. The process should start before the new employee joins the company. It continues after the first day, and it needs to be carefully planned and tailored to the individual. It is the platform from which the new employee does learn, and they do develop from this in their role and for the future. and it's where they're going to make a valuable contribution and perform to the best of their ability and secure their commitment really to your organisation and make them happy in their role. So let's remember, you know, it doesn't have to be one day. And, you know, I understand listening to me today, there's lots of different sizes of business here. So some people will say, well, I've only got a day. And then what you might do is just have a meeting once a week just to carry on, just to make sure that member staff does still feel included and not alienated. So the type of induction, as I've just said, really will depend on each organisation, the team, the role, the employee, etc. And you know, what you might do is within this induction create an organisational plan which can be refined for each role and be useful to save time. So it might be just something that you refer to for every single induction that you do. So what you do is you tailor the induction plan to the individual based on answers to the following questions. So first of all, are they new to your sector or industry, for example? Are they new to the area? Are they new to a leadership role? So, you know, you might find a member of staff that says, yeah, I've never lived here before, I'm new to the area. You might introduce them to a car share in the office that's local to them. So are they new to a leadership role? Are they straight out of school, college or university? And let's stop for a second. And I think when my very first job when I was my very first job was when I was 10, but actually, you know, working with a payslip was when I was 16. And it was a YTS, and it was brilliant. It was amazing for me, the best foot in the door ever that led me onto this role that I'm doing today. But this YTS that I did, I remember they gave me an induction, and I've never felt so welcomed into a business. Everybody was delighted that I worked there. I got a uniform, and I couldn't wait to go home and tell everybody at home about my wages, about the day I'd had, about the fact that we had, you know, what time when we had our breaks, what they did at lunch, and the members of staff that worked there, and talked about the personalities. And that is really, you know, I will find joy in any situation anyway, but I was so elated and happy. I went home, I was like walking on air, walking the 3 miles back home, by the way, but walking on air back home to tell my mum and dad and all my family, and everybody sat around the table talking about this new job I had, and I knew that it was brilliant. I was so happy, and that's the way an induction should be. So if somebody's new to the area, let's help them. Are they new to your sector and industry? So let's give them a little bit of a, you know, a background into that. Tell them about the company, how it started, you know, the story behind it. Everybody has this journey that they've got. Are they new to a leadership role? Are they straight out of school, college or university? You know, what sort of company did they work for previously? Will this be very different to what they did before? The induction plan really does vary depending on how many times, you know, you spend on each area. You know, so for a new employee who's never worked within your sector, you'll need to have a greater input into how the sector operates from a wider perspective than just your organisation. Timings, well, that's up to you really, but before you start, keep it in contact, providing the information they need to start. So, you know, this is what, you know, a job offer letter stating the main terms, health questionnaire, you know, to when you're sending out the job offer letter, and the details of the induction, what's going to happen on day one, what you're going to do for the rest of the week, the first month, the first 3 months, and if it carries on, the first 6 months. And what you've done is you invested into that person, and during that induction period, what you might do is plan a range of different activities, from including them to certain meetings, events, training courses, reading and research that they might do, on the job training, shadowing others, and mentoring. And let's just pause again here for a second. But what I find is absolutely brilliant is that, you know, we haven't got a retirement age in the UK now. And so what we have is we have people that are working long past what we would have considered a retirement age of 60, 65, because, you know, somebody born today in the Western world will live to be 100. So we will have a huge aging workforce, and we will have people from 16 to 70 odd, 80 working in the same company. And somebody can lose that desire, that enthusiasm when they've been with the company for a long time. But if you buddy them up with a new starter, watch them get that fresh outlook on life and pass on their brilliant experience and mentoring, something that can't be learned in a classroom, that can only be learned from experience. And if I go back to my YTS at 16, and I still keep in contact with this lady that I worked with when I was 16, you know, and she mentored me at 16, and Ruth was an amazing person for me, and I believe that I inspired her too, because together we buddied up. She was mentoring me and put me on the track where I am today. But you know, I've never forgot that. You won't forget that. So an induction into a new job and buddying that with somebody with great skills makes a huge difference. So that's part of it. Mentoring is a huge part of employee engagement and keeping people happy within that business. So plan all of the areas which need to be covered. So company awareness, for example, dress code, standards and expectations. Now, there was a conversation the other day we were having about what's acceptable wear. So we're in, you know, the CIPD, HR inform, legal profession, and we were talking about what footwear somebody should wear, and you know, what is appropriate. So, and again, isn't it right? You know, that I'm in my 50s now. So my view of what somebody might wear might be totally different to somebody who's starting work at 20, 18, 17. So we, you know, it's about what is the standards and expectations of your company, what is the dress code, and make people aware of this. What is expected when they ring up, when they're late? Who do they speak to? No texting. Remind people of your policies and procedures. When we talk about mobile phones and social networking, for example, it might be great while you've got them here, full attention, you know, and they're listening to you, that you talk to them about, you know, what is acceptable about, you know, having a WhatsApp group and not speaking about other members of staff or posting pictures. The video and recording people, don't do it, but don't just say it, have it written down in policies and procedures. You can't video people, you can't tape people, you know, talk about that on social media, remind them of your social media policy. You've got them there. They can say what industry they work in, but they can't say where they work. They shouldn't post pictures of people. They shouldn't talk about the company on social media. Set the scene straight away for your professionalism that you have as a company, and make it light-hearted but also quite serious at the start as well. Make them aware of health and safety. Invest in health and safety. You will recoup the benefits. Make them aware of diversity, what's acceptable, the equal opportunity bullying harassment policy. Make sure it's up to date. Make them aware of that on day one, and so they sign for it. But during induction, they sign to say they've read it and they've also understood it as well. And then also any technical training that they might need. So again, when we look at this, we're looking at the organisation induction, so the goals and the values, the structure and key individuals. So we know who's in marketing, we know who's like head of house or whatever, whichever type of industry it is. So what you need to do with this is tailored. It should be tailored to provide the employee with as much information about your organisation as necessary in order to make them feel as if they understand the business, know how their role fits into it, and feel engaged with the values, and will work towards the goals. So facilities, for example, is easily done on an in-house tour, isn't it? So going around and saying about facilities, coffee, you know, the lavatory facilities, health and safety information. This is a legal requirement. You definitely get this bolted off on day one. The minute somebody walks through your door on day one, sign to say they've read and understood the health and safety handbook. So this is what we should be doing on day one. So again, the department induction. So here is where you introduce them to the department, how that department contributes to the overall business, the collaboration within other departments, aims of the department, and key individuals within that department, and activities of each of those individual departments as well. And don't forget, when somebody walks fresh into your company and new into your company, they might be able to spot, you know, faults or holes within your company. So, you know, this is a good time as well to gather feedback. So then we have the team induction. So this is how the employee's role fits in within the team, the structure of the team, who the seniors are, the leads, the assistants, the expectations of the line manager, support within the team, and team policies or practices, for example. So who within the team is the first aider? Who within the team might be the person that they speak to if there is, you know, an issue with equal opportunity or bullying? Who's the, you know, the confidential helper, etc. That type of induction when it comes to the team. So, and then we have the job induction. So this is when you're actually, it's bespoke to them really, isn't it? It's the objectives. It's to be discussed and agreed with the employee in advance of these being introduced. So we're going to talk about the job responsibilities, the job description and the duties, what the expectations of that role, what it is, the objectives, the standards of their performance expected, and the terms and conditions that apply with that. So we need to get this really spot on. So to successfully implement, you need to ensure you have a plan that is in place before employment starts. Provide the employee with a copy of that plan. Book your meetings in advance, so it's not just a last minute thought. You know, you thought about me afterwards. Train managers on the purpose and the process of these inductions so that they are, you know, successful. So what you're doing really is you're investing in them, and so and letting them know what is in store for them on the first day. Give the plan to the employee, and they can see that you've had an investment in them and you've taken time out to plan something for them. Book the meetings. You want those who are undertaking the induction to be prepared and ready to carry out those meetings, those briefings, inductions, activities. I know what we do is we have a whole plan of action, and we get each head of each department to welcome our new employee, regardless of what they're doing within that company, to tell them about the role of what they do, their department, how they can utilize their department, and each head of department does that. So you need to train your managers, though, on the importance of what inductions are all about, so they're able to ensure this is a positive experience across the breadth of the organisation. You want all your managers working together in line with the organisation's values and culture, and all literally singing off the same hymn sheet. So what is the role of the induction buddy? So an induction buddy is a colleague, usually in the same team, who's available during the induction period to make sure that person knows where they're going, for example, what particular meetings they should be in. Ensure the buddy is a positive member of staff who has sufficient knowledge and experience to answer questions. Make sure it's not somebody who's negative. Make sure it's not somebody that, you know, just is very flat in their approach, and you know, long in the tooth, you know, type of person. Make sure they're, you know, really positive to give that person a great journey. So work colleagues are the best people to show a new employee how things work and what to do. They have an important part to play in this process anyway. So you might want to try pairing new member staff with another member of the team who is not their line manager. So you want to pick your buddy carefully. So using a newer member of staff may lead to a situation where the buddy doesn't know the answer to the new starter's questions. So using somebody who's been there a little bit longer may have some negative feelings about the organisation that they will want to communicate. So asking for volunteers is probably a best solution, because they'll be happy to volunteer themselves, they'll be positive, and will provide as much support as necessary. What I would say, though, if you've got a member of staff that's quite negative, I'd find out why they're negative, and you know, try and solve that situation anyway. So the induction buddy, so what is their role? They're there to support the new starter on a more informal footing. They will show an employee how to do things, show them where things are, answer queries, and also it's a really horrible thing. It's like being in the old school playground, isn't it? And where you're having lunch on the first day, you just don't know who to sit with, do you? So that's where they will take them to lunch on the first day, introduce them to people, and that's where they'll be chatting over their lunch, and they'll find out, you know, people in the local area, people that share cars, might share the bus journey, you know, get to know everybody. And this is where, as I said, socially, you get lots of people that that might know each other on the outside, or friends, etc. But socially, to integrate within the business makes you feel great on day one anyway, to buddy up with somebody and have friends just at the lunch hour. So the induction buddy. So this is what we've got on the CIPD HR Inform checklist for induction buddy. So I don't know if you knew that was there, but if you look at this form, if you can see it, if you've got varifocals like me, I probably can see it better than you, but it says introduce yourself and explain your role in the company, explain the purpose of an induction buddy, go to lunch with your buddy, introduction to colleagues, tour of office essentials like stationery, printers, photocopiers, storage facilities, it sounds so silly and simple, doesn't it? But it makes a hell of a difference to that new starter. Demonstrate company intranet, demonstrate telephone system, update on upcoming social events, your employee benefits, for example. Tour of the building, including toilets, rest and refreshment facilities. Explain health and safety requirements, explain fire evacuation procedures, indicate location of meeting rooms and explain booking procedures. Explain how to get in touch with you, example, the phone number, direct dial, email address. Touch base, with a buddy at the end of the first day. So that's what that form is all about. But it's a checklist that we have on the CIPD HR form, and it's to continue to develop the buddy role. And if everybody is being asked a question which doesn't appear on the checklist, make sure this is added so future buddies do cover this without being asked. So this is really covering all the key areas and having this checklist in place. And it's easy to forget if you don't have it written down anyway. So it's a really good idea to have it written down. So avoid a day one mentality, which is leaving the employee to fend for themselves and to their own devices, and can leave them floundering, feeling alienated, feeling like they don't actually like the job, it's not for them. So, and remember, they could back out on the first day because of this. Remember, the organisation is also on probation. So a continued induction process shows your support and shows them that you support them and wish to develop your employees. And as I said earlier on, an induction should be a continuous process. So the first week is about inducting the employee into their role. It may involve daily management catch-ups, spending time with colleagues, visiting other departments that they'll work with, and introducing employee to appropriate senior managers. And I think in some industries, you see, if for example, I was watching I can't remember the name of the program, but a program last week where it's to do with manufacturing, and I was talking about how Barbour make their coats, and I feel that part of that induction for every single member of staff, whether you work for Louis Vuitton, Mulberry, whether you work for Barbour, whether you work for KFC or you work for McDonald's or you work in a sandwich shop down the road, but if you're working in that company, if it was my company, you will start at the bottom with everybody to feel that journey right from the bottom. So the part of that induction will show you how a pocket is sewn on a Barbour coat, how a zip is put in a Louis Vuitton bag, how they come up with the logo, how a KFC chicken piece is dipped into that flour. So you get the journey right from the bottom to the top, and that you see the journey, so you can see the whole ethos of the company and how everybody is a part of that cog within that business, because they're crucial. And that's how I don't like referring to people as cogs and oil in them, but that's really what you're doing. If we can all see where the journey starts, we get a flavour of the company all the way through and how everybody works together. So from day two, the induction should be about getting the new employee started and involved in the role. And line managers should be encouraged to have daily meetings with their new member of staff throughout the first week. And they don't need to be long meetings, they could be a 5-minute chat. It's just an opportunity to catch up and see how things are going and to answer any questions or concerns that person might have. This way, any issues can be picked up early and quickly addressed. And remember, at this point, if any of your staff have got bad habits, people learn bad habits, and bad habits are really hard to get rid of. So this is where they should be quickly addressed. Time should be set aside for them to meet with their buddy on a daily basis for at least the first week. And they will be able to ask this person all the silly questions they don't want to bother their line manager or HR with. So, and then we've got time with colleagues. So ensure your new employees have the opportunity to spend time with the colleagues, both within their own team and with other teams across the business who they'll come into regular contact with, to understand their roles and to learn from them. We also have the introduction to other parts of the business, introduce new employees to areas of the business they will come in regular contact with. So it might be an accounts department, invoicing department, and it might be a really good idea at this point, if they're going to be working with one of your clients on a regular basis, they need to have that rapport and work with that person. And people buy off people, don't they? So it's a really good idea to introduce your clients to this new member of the team that they'll be dealing with, and letting your clients know who this new person is, so your clients don't feel alienated either. They've just lost somebody they've worked with for a long time. You've got this new member of staff in. You need to build up that rapport and get this customer service going and this client bonding. So what you need to do is prioritize this and plan for them to visit these departments or individuals within their first week. And the sooner they get to know who their key contacts are, the sooner they can start to work with them. If you have any other buildings or sites that employees will need to visit from time to time, explain where they are, and if possible, take them to that building to get a good understanding of that building as well. And meet senior managers. It's important for new employees to meet appropriate senior managers earlier on. How this happens will depend on the size and culture of your organisation. So the first month is ensuring the employee is settling into their new role. This may involve weekly management meetings to plan for the week ahead, check the week has gone as planned, discuss any queries or concerns, and ensure the employee is clear on key processes and policies. So what I would suggest, because the induction isn't completed, and as I said, it depends on each of your companies here, but usually the induction isn't completed at the end of the first week. It should continue for at least the first 3 months and up to 6 months, as I said, depending on the size of your company and the processes, obviously. But certainly after the first week, your new employee will start to settle into their new role and be able to carry out some of the main duties. However, activities and opportunities to learn and develop should continue to be planned on a regular basis up to the end of the first month. So if we talk about line manager meetings, so line managers, what I would say, should meet with the new employees at the start and end of each of the next 3 weeks. And the purpose of this is to get the week started to discuss and plan for the week ahead, both in relation to their induction, the key tasks or objectives expected of them, and at the end of each week to go over what those tasks and objectives, and to check that everything is going to plan and that they're still happy with the way the things are panned out, really. And if they've got any questions or concerns, they can start to then plan their activity for the following week. The processes and policies, line managers should discuss key things such as arrangements within the team for the booking of holidays, calling in sick, appraisals, raising a grievance, and really any other relevant processes and procedures which the line manager should make the new employee aware of at a very early stage, really. This is an area line managers should cover in conjunction with HR so that they're clear on how policies and procedures work in practice, their responsibilities and any recent changes to ensure adherence to company procedures. One key one here to stop sickness levels rising right at the very beginning is to set the scene. So we've done the job offer letter, the statement of main terms. Statement of main terms is confirming what you've promised them, for example, how much they're being paid, their hours, the breaks, etc. And the good work plan says that they're suggesting, and it will be implemented, that this should be issued from day one, which is something I've always spoken about. When I take a job on with you, I get my job offer letter, I expect to see the contract straight away because that's what you've promised me. And if you're not giving me that on straight away, already you're walking on eggshells because I don't know whether it's a great company, to be honest with you. So the good work plan is saying that we should issue this on day one. But what we should be reinforcing here is setting the scene on day one as our expectations, for example, for sickness. So you should have good sickness policies and procedures. Now, I'm doing a lot of well-being seminars at the moment. So if you want to go on a well-being seminar, get in contact with us at CIPD HR Inform, because we are doing a lot of them. I'm doing a lot of talks about well-being and the management of well-being, stress and depression, anxiety, that type of stuff. But this is setting the scene. Health questionnaire on day one, legal document, it says it at the bottom. They sign that on day one. And then what we're going to have in the employment law handbook and the safety handbook, again, is a health statement, a pregnancy statement. But the sickness reporting and procedures, let them know on day one. When you phone in sick, you don't text in, you phone in. And it's a written rule that we have in our sickness policies. This is keeping in touch. We don't want to keep in touch via Facebook and find out what you're on about via Facebook. We want to know what you're doing by keeping in touch with them. So we need you to keep us informed, keep us in the loop, fit notes, etc. And by the way, I'm going to remind you, new employee, that we value you, we invest in you, and we support you if you are off sick. But at the end of the day, if you're not keeping in touch with us, you're not ringing in, and you're not ringing in within certain timescales and with the notified person and nominated person that you should be nominated telling that you're sick, then I just want to draw attention to reasons why we can withhold sick pay. It's if you breach any of the above reasons. So it gives you that control back as well, because I do hear some bad stories out there where people aren't keeping in touch. They're not keeping the employer informed of why they're off, and they're withholding sick notes. So let's realize that we can manage situations, and we do this right at the very beginning by setting the scene. Lateness, how they inform you of their lateness, and this is the chance right at the very beginning to get this up and running. So training should be planned and continued throughout the first month. So familiarization within the company. So things all employees need to be aware of, and mandatory training. And if you don't know what I'm going on about, go on the CIPD HR Inform to remind you of this. But structures, systems, processes, culture, expectations, health and safety, diversity, appraisal processes, customer service, using the company IT systems, personal effectiveness will depend on the role and the level of the skill your new employee brings with them, and may include communication skills, report writing, presentation, time management, problem solving, assertiveness, team management, technical training. This will entirely be dependent on the role and on the new employee's previous experience. The knowledge and level of skills and how it is delivered will depend on the nature of the learning required on the job training through to certified or certificated training with an external provider. So the first month is also key to providing the employee with training necessary for the role. So here we're talking about ongoing personal development and training plans. We're talking about within the first 3 to 6 months, we're talking about, again, personal development, training plans, regular management meetings, at least monthly, to discuss any gaps they feel they have, continued availability of the buddy for support. And this stage of the induction process is about getting into a routine, really. It's still important for the induction to continue. The focus is now about getting into a routine. And by this time, a new employee will feel more settled, but there will be still a lot that they don't know. And they need to get into a work routine, get on with the job. But line managers need to be aware that they still need to maybe ask you questions. You need to monitor their progress and provide support for them to develop in their role. I do believe a regular end of month meeting should still be planned in right from the start up until the 3-month period, and this meeting should focus on how they are getting on, discuss any learning needs, any gaps really in their induction. And the buddy allocated on day one should still be available, but we need to realize that they also have their job to do as well. So building on the induction, so once completed, sign off the induction period. Any induction checklist should be signed and stored on the employee's file. And continue to support and develop the employee. You want to avoid employees stagnating or claiming you only focus on new employees for like 1 minute. So at the appropriate time within the first 6 months, depending on your internal procedures, the organisation will be in a position to sign off probation and agree that the induction process has come to an end. HR should work with line managers to ensure that the correct procedure is followed before this is carried out. You may wish to return the induction checklist to ensure that all of the tasks have been completed. Now, like I say, at every single seminar, every single webinar that I do, this is part of your defence, okay? So if you end up in a tribunal, which I hope you never ever do, because Corona and CIPD HR Inform, we're about the fact that we want you to be preventative. We don't want you to think about things afterwards. We want you to have things in place. So the way I describe this to everybody, when we talk about this induction, we talk about employment law, health and safety law, GDPR, pensions. Unfortunately, with GDPR, half of Europe are not doing it, but we have to do it here. And I don't think half of Europe are doing it, if I'm honest with you, but we are doing it over here. And a part of it is this is all your defence. Let me remind you, there's 76 complaints in tribunal, to the most common are unfair and constructive dismissal. When you're looking for defence, whether somebody slipped in your factory and broke the back, whether somebody's lost the hand in a piece of machinery, whether somebody's been dismissed while they're pregnant, while somebody's said, shove your job, I'm not working for you anymore, and you're trying to defend yourself to say that didn't happen, what you're ultimately going to rely on, you're going to rely on the policies, procedures, the documentation, everything you've done. So if I work with you and I say, did you do that induction? I would hope then you would say, yes, I did. But unfortunately, a lot of people out there would go, I thought you did the induction. No, I thought you did it. Where's the form? Where do you store it? Where's the form where they should have signed? Where's their signature for the health and safety handbook? This is what you're looking at. When we talk about criminal law, and I say, if I murdered my husband, I don't think about that every day, if I'm honest with you, but if I murdered my husband, you would have to prove that I did it in criminal law. And I am innocent until proven guilty. But in employment law and health and safety law, you are guilty immediately. And the only way you prove yourself innocent is with the documentation, policies and procedures. This is why an induction is important. That person signed to say they'd read and understood the policies and procedures. That is your defense. It's so important to listen to what I'm saying today and to implement this induction. So once completed, sign off the induction period. Any induction checklist should be signed and stored on the employee's file securely. Continue to support and develop the employee. You want to avoid employees stagnating. That's so important. Or claiming you only focus on them when they're new. But also remember your suitability clause. If you're not happy with a new member of staff, that's what a suitability clause is for. Now, HR informed resources, employment law resource on induction and probationary periods, we have that on there. How to guide on managing the induction process is on there. The checklist for managing induction, the new starter checklist, the checklist for induction buddy, the template for the induction buddy is also on there. I'd like to thank you for listening to me today. My name is Amanda Chadwick. You may contact me, and if the next slide does have, when we do these webinars, it's very hard to answer all the questions we get asked. So if you do have a question, email events@hr-inform.co.uk. If you are wanting to do an event yourself in-house and you'd like a speaker such as myself to attend, to host an event, please contact events@hr-inform.co.uk if you would like to have more information about the CIPD HR Inform and how we help and integrate ourselves into businesses throughout the UK. Contact us again at events@hr-inform.uk. And if you'd like to attend one of our workshops, our seminars that we do all over the country, especially the wellbeing ones, please contact us at that email address. If you'd like to book your CIPD HR-Inform demo and get a free 24-hour trial, please telephone us on 0333 207 5658. And remember, you get 50% off if you're a CIPD member. Thank you so much for listening to me today. If you'd like to follow us, you can follow me, Amanda Chadwick, on Instagram, but you can follow CIPD HR Inform on any of the following: Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, and I'm not sure what the play sign is actually, because I'm not very savvy on social media, so I'll have to find out what that is actually. Thank you very much for listening to me today, and I hope to speak to you again soon, and goodbye from me.